Hey, welcome to the first review of the year 2024 as the Blues finish up with their match simulation against the Geelong Football Club. It was the Cats that actually won this one, 10 goals, 13.73 to 8 goals, 8.56. I've just gotten home. I'm a sweaty mess. I tell you what, it was fucking hot today. Good preparation for opening round for Carlton, given that we've got the Lions. And yeah, I mean, look, it was a day just that reminded me, and I think for a lot of us that were there today, just, what it's like to be back at the club, watching footy, and just watching something that's not our boys playing against themselves. Really good to see a full-strength Geelong opposition. Cameron, Hawkins are all out there, every single one of them. And so that was always going to be a little bit of a test for us. My priorities going into this game were as follows. Number one, get through with no injuries. That was priority number one. That's all I really wanted. That was the most important thing to happen today, and we got that. I think, I haven't checked injury reports. Nothing's come out yet. I saw Mitch McGovern land a little awkwardly, and he sort of was holding his hip, but it was just one of those awkward lands that happens in footy all the time. I didn't think it was anything too serious. So I think we got through pretty unscathed. I do want to take a moment to just spare a thought for Cam Guthrie. Like literally the first bounce, gets the ball out, kicks the ball. I think he did something to his quad, and it just sends shivers down the spine just because of how quickly a season can turn, like in a moment. That's it. His season's compromised. And I think about that with our boys, and you're only one or two bits of information when it comes to injury away from the course of your season changing. So I did actually spare a thought for Guthrie there and Geelong, but they were relatively full strength. They were better than us today. My second priority as to what I went to look out for today was just the young guys, the young kids, and the new guys, just to see, I've watched them at training against our own, and I've watched them, move around with confidence, and I've watched them show those flashes of brilliance. And so I was curious to see how that would look against opposition. And then really just to see if there was any positional changes, anything mixed up. I did see Cunners a little bit more throughout the midfield today than what I think we usually would. Granted, a few guys weren't playing today that normally would as well. I thought we started off okay. Geelong then kicked, I think, 4 or 5 in a row after that. And then, we sort of regrouped at quarter time. I thought in defence, I felt the loss of Jacob Wiedering. And I knew I would, and I think we all knew we would. There's just something about the way he organises things back there. Today the task was left, I guess, to Lewis Young and Brody Kemp, who both had a few nervous moments. Brody Kemp fumbled a few balls early in the game. Lewis had a few moments as well, gave away a few free kicks, and just moments where they both, in these particular situations, just weren't moving with confidence. So that's going to be an interesting one. We don't know any more about how that Wiedering hole will be filled. It was a bit disappointing that Marchbank didn't play, just because I feel like he's the first option in terms of helping us fill the void of Jacob Wiedering. But, look, Lewis Young and Brody Kemp, I didn't leave the game feeling like I knew more about how that defensive mechanism would operate without Wiedering. So maybe we'll give that another practice match next week to see how that one plays out. In terms of the standout players, I thought, the first names that jump out at me were, I thought Harry McKai looked really confident in the way he moved his body, marking the ball, kicked a few goals, hit the post with another one, but generated shots on goal and just looked to move freely. It was good to see the knee looks to be pretty clean, and he's moving well. I thought Ole Holland's impressed me with the way he got around the ball. It's a bit different. I felt the loss of Wiedering, but I didn't feel the loss of Sam Walsh as much. And that's why I think Wiedering is, one of our more valuable players. So with Sam Walsh, obviously he doesn't play, but then you've got so many other midfielders who get more opportunity. And I thought Ole Hollands was one that stood out in terms of, okay, he's got a lot of energy, still really early in his career. So he's still training in the preseason like he's got a bit of something to prove. And not just that, he always trains at that intensity. And so that was really cool to see that come out against opposition. But yeah, I thought Ole stood out for me with his ability to just get to more contests. I thought Patrick Crips, which is a bit of a surprise to be saying. Generally, I would be watching him in preseason, and he seems to be not going through the motions, but you just know he's got more of a gear to go. He looked sharp. He looked to be moving freely. I think having no knee strapping has been noticeable for me. I did mention it last week during the training report. And that was something that just, I don't know, there's an optical illusion to it, that when he doesn't have the strapping, he just seems to be looking like he's more springy. That was the best way I could describe it. But he looked to be sharp. And then I think there was a guy who just reminded me, and maybe us, and I'd be curious to see if you also felt this way. He just reminded me that, hey, don't question his spot in the side. And that was George Hewett. Just consistent, did the basics well. Left-handed handballs, right-handed handballs, hit targets, tackled well. Just George, workmanlike, George Hewett type game. And granted, Kennedy wasn't playing, and a few others weren't playing, but I just watched, and for whatever reason, he stood out to me. I liked the look of McGovern. I did mention before that he looked a little bit proppy after one of those contests, but I did like the look of him. His body composition is the best I think I've seen it during his time at the Carlton Football Club. And I really do mean that. It's the best shape I've seen him in at this point in the year. Once the season starts and you're playing weekly, I mean, your body's okay because you're playing high intensity games every week. It was always the off season where I had a few question marks over how he was going, but he looks to be moving really freely. His closing speed, I thought, was a bit of a feature. And yeah, I think the next question mark with our team is the forward line. We know we've lost Jack. We know that a few of these smaller guys didn't play. Always didn't play. Durden didn't play. Jack Martin didn't play. So we got a chance to see Fantasia. We got a chance to see Moya. Motlop obviously in there. Ashton Moya, I thought, showed a few flashes of brilliance. He's got an aura about him. There were a few one-on-one contests, where he had to put some body on, where got outmarked, or just a little bit of a positioning with him that he will naturally improve with. And once he nails that part down, he's got all the elements. You can see it; they're all there. Fantasia, I think for him probably more so just to get through the game. He looked lively at times. I think he's just got to think long term and the entire season with him. Let's just make sure he's firing at the pointy end. But it was good to see him just in the navy blue and looking like a normal Carlton player. And yeah, I thought, who else stood out to me? Maybe TDK. I liked the fact that he had to do rucking for the entire game. It did make me question, though. I didn't see much about Pitto in the injury report. He looked to be training normally last week. No strapping or anything. I remember taking note last week in my mind that he looked to be moving fine. So I don't know if that's just part of his preseason, and maybe he'll play a few more minutes next week against the D's. But I didn't see Pitto, so therefore I did see more of TDK, and he looks like the body's just ready to withstand the rigors of the season. Such is the maturity in his frame. I think that's all in terms of individuals. Overall, it was really just a simulation, as it was. I mean, there were some certain goals where they were kicked and then play would stop, and then they would go to a boundary throw in from the wing. So it was a training session more than anything. And in terms of the guys that impressed me, did so because of the way in which they seemed to just move their body with confidence. So I leave there not having any more answers than what I did before I got there. But that's what the first hit out's for. So yeah, that's how I saw it. What about you? If you were there, let me know what that experience was like, because it was bloody hot. If you watched it at home, you obviously saw a different angle to what I did, and you probably saw the game a little bit more in depth. I don't know what the coverage was like. I know Ed Kerno was doing some commentary, but document your thoughts about the first hit out against the Cats in the comments below. And we officially get this 2024 show on the road. See you on the fan cams.